Before we move on, one thing I wanted to note about the essential business, this memo that the Department of Homeland Security put out back in March, that sort of laid out the industries that constitute maybe essential businesses. To me, at least, it was kind of surprising how many industries there were. And so I just want to make sure people are aware that you're not excluded from being an essential business just because you don't make food or medical supplies or things like that. And it's certainly something to look into, and we can help you with that. Do you fall into one of these many industries or supply chains that could make you?
Yeah, absolutely. It is exceptionally broad. That CISA memo, essentially, if you think about the kinds of technologies that you might think about being important, and that's in terms of crucial, like survival type important, excuse me, they all fall on there. So things like anything related to transportation, the automotive industry, anything public, a public benefit. You think about national security, again, public transportation, obviously food security is crucial, medical, any type of manufacturing or supply chain that falls into any of those things. So yeah, it is very broad. It encompasses wide swaths of the manufacturing industries here in the U.S. or even abroad. It's very, very broad, absolutely. So yeah, looking ahead, I don't see a substantial change in the next 6 months. Looking basically through the first quarter of next year, everything that I read says that we're going to be stuck with COVID for at least that long. Maybe vaccines will really help. It's hard to know. And I think likewise, regardless of one's political views or political, the political landscape, how things may or may not change, I just don't see COVID allowing much change between now and then. So, and I think if you or your company or you have employees that are looking at immigration changes, immigration additions, immigration benefits between now and certainly well into next year, these travel bans, the visa bans that we've been talking about, are still likely going to be with us. And so we can help you with those things, help through those things. There are lots of strategies. We have just kind of, I'm gonna say, scratched the surface of how to mitigate or to kind of work around some of these bans. And so regardless of your situation, even if you saw this saying, well, I don't really fit in anything that I saw on the slides or they talked about, there are still options. There are other options that are more specific that may be available. And again, if you're flying in the U.S., as we talked about, make sure you know where you're going. Know your airports. Maybe that's the theme of our trip, is know where you're going, know who you're dealing with. So yeah, I think again, I think certainly well into 2021, everything that we've talked about will likely apply in some way or another.
So one question I had, something we've been hearing about in the news is the fees changing. Do you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, great question. So again, slightly outside the visa ban, travel ban, COVID scope, but yes, here recently the USCIS did implement their fee changes. There are some pretty substantial increases. One of the really big ones would be for premium processing, which for a handful of employment-based applications to USCIS, status changes here, L visas, those kinds of things. It went from $1,440 to $2,500. In most cases, I think there are some exceptions, but for the most part, it went to $2,500, jumped by $1,000. So that's a pretty substantial change. Most immigration applications to USCIS did see an increase. In some cases, it's pretty substantial. So I think at this point, those are certainly around for a while. Will that change? Could it change? Maybe. It's hard to say. But yeah, there is some litigation on that. So there could be a change there, maybe. We'll see. But I think for the moment, if you're looking at situations where the fees went up, you should assume that those fee increases will continue to apply.